Broadcasting from an undisclosed location under a farm pond somewhere in the Midwest. Your host is Jim Crowley. This is Slickfish Radio.
You are back. You are where the intensity, where the action is always fun. The information's even better than that. And we're back with another edition of Slickfish Radio. Thanks for all of you guys that are chiming in tonight. Remember, after the show tonight, you're going to be able to watch us on Facebook, but you're also going to be able to see us on Roku, Fire TV, Amazon Music, iTunes, Spotify, and coming soon to Wired to Fish TV as well. So we are very happy to have all of you on. And after you start chiming in, some of you are starting to click on now. Good. Thank you for doing that. If you have any questions, comments, kind words, please feel free to join in and say something. We want to make sure. Our guest tonight is Dan Quinn, longtime friend of mine, and he is basically the face of Rapala. I've known Dan for a long time. I've been with Rapala for many a year. And Dan and I have known each other for a long time. So many cool things coming. Hey, and Vance Gordon is on. Vance, how are you from Iowa? That is great to see. And thank you for everybody else that is coming on. Please feel free to just chime in and say hi. But yeah, Dan and I have known each other a long time. A lot of great things. Innovative products continually come from Rapala, and we're going to show you some of them tonight, as well as talk about the experiences that both Dan and I have had. For some of you know, maybe you don't, you see him on Wired to Fish all the time. Dan is quite the accomplished angler and one of the brains behind getting a lot of these products coming to market. So we're going to pick his brain a little bit tonight, because you all know me by now. I like to know how things work. That's why I make a lot of my own baits. That's why I make my own rods. I like to know how things work. The only baits I don't make is Rapalas, and there's a reason for that. It's pretty hard to beat perfection, and these guys have been at the game a long time. And when it comes to crankbaits and jerkbaits, these guys definitely know what's going on. Oh, look at that! My beautiful wife chimed in. Hi, Dan and Jim from upstairs. Hi, sweetie. She is holding the ship down while I am here tonight. First and foremost, I want to thank our sponsor, Shields from Springfield, Illinois. By the way, we are going to talk about this tonight. We are going to talk about Crush City and a lot of the other Rapala stuff. Shields, packed to the rafters with new Rapala stuff. I'm going to show you some of the new baits. Also going to let you know, I just saw the end cap. I was there the other day, talked with the fishing department there. They're already ramping up for Fish Fest in March. I'm going to be there. We're going to be talking about all the new Rapala baits. But if you're looking for everything you've heard about Crush City, that's where you get it. Shields is loaded with them. I also want to thank Lure Parts Online. You're going to see some Black Friday videos that I put together for Lure Parts that started today. They're going to be going throughout the week. We've got a lot of new stuff and a lot of new ways for you to build some of your own stuff. Bladed jigs, spinnerbait, swim jigs, you name it. Tie your own flies, whatever. Lure Parts Online has it. Our friends from Cast King, they have a lot of Black Friday sales going on as well. Our friends over at Mud Hole, I'm actually heading down to Florida next week to meet with everybody. We're going to be doing some very cool rod builds going into 2024 for Wired to Fish TV season 3. Plus, I'm going to be doing some live builds coming up in December, January, and February. With Mud Hole, we are going to get right down to the basics of building rods. Look at it this way. If I can do it, so can you. And we're going to go over everything about how you can build your own rods. And that's thanks to the people and our friends over at Mud Hole. We are powered, as always. And the first guys to hop on Slickfish Radio was Dakota Lithium, 11-year warranty. Nobody beats that power. Nobody beats their commitment to the sport of bass fishing when it comes to lithium batteries like Dakota Lithium. We're so proud to have them powering the show. But you didn't come here just to hear me talk. You didn't. I know that for a fact. You came here to talk to this guy. So, Dan, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Hey, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. It's always good to see you. You and I, and especially you, there are not enough hours in the freaking week for what you have to do. There's just not.
Well, that's a fact. You throw a couple kids in the mix, and yeah, I got my plate full. But, I love what I do. I live the dream. So
yeah, and I think you sleep standing up. Because you are always on the move. You're always doing something. Hey, Gen Wong just joined us from New Jersey. Hey, Gen, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, and so many things happening with all the brands under the Normark umbrella. But Rapala this year, you guys always seem to raise the bar. And before we get into Crush City, I'm going to, of all the iCasts that you and I have been to, I've been to a lot of premieres of different things coming on where, the press had to be there for this, that. I don't think I've ever seen a room as jam-packed as it was with the release of Crush City. I walked in, you looked at me, I looked at you, I'm like, this is nuts. And you guys had to know, you worked long and hard on this with Jacob Wheeler for 2 years. You had to know, you had to have a pretty good feeling this was going to be a good launch, didn't you?
We definitely did. We really, truly put our best foot forward, and it was, it's looking back, this will be something I'll look back on years from now, like, wow, what an experience to start from the ground up to develop these baits with him, and then have that launch at iCast. That was the way to start it. Yeah, there was, it was the people were spilling out the door. It was cool, and it's been great. But the reason for it is it's really, really good stuff. You've been with us for forever, right? And you know that if we're going to do something, we're going to do it right, and it's going to work. It's going to catch fish, and this Crush City's been. It's the biggest launch in the history of the company. It's Rapala's biggest launch. So it's been really, really cool to be a part of it and have a hand in it and see it succeed. And it's succeeding because it works. It's really good stuff, and it catches fish. And obviously having Jacob there, and
that don't hurt nothing. Yeah,
maybe he won a little tournament on it. It's like there's
came out of nowhere. He
got lucky,
Yeah. You know what? The funny thing is some memories came up on my Facebook the other day because it's getting close to show season again. So the picture came up when you guys first got Jacob, and there's the three of us standing there at the Chicago show, me, you, and Jacob. Mm-hmm. He looks like he's 12, right?
I know it. I know it.
I kept that picture because, what if, and I remember that dinner that night with him and everybody, and we had a great time that night, but even your intuition back then, knowing these guys are going to be good, but it's had to far exceed your expectations about them and where the team has gone. Even the guys you've added in the last years, like Kyle Welcher and some of the other guys, it is just that's not only a good eye, but I think you're obviously very good at seeing the talent that is going to represent the company well. And you've got to be proud of that going forward, aren't you?
I am. I truly am. Yeah. We've got it's an amazing lineup of guys. We have, I would, without any question, the best pro staff in bass fishing. And at that level of the, Major League Fishing and the Bassmasters. And seeing that early on is pretty cool with Jacob. I've said it for over 10 years, like, he's the next Kevin Van Dam. And I've been saying it to the people at the office, and it's come to fruition, and it's pretty darn cool. And now we can leverage that for this Crush City, to design these baits. And, he's got that knowledge and the understanding to make these baits the best. You go into the soft plastics market, that's a flooded market. Like, you're talking about some companies that have been around forever that have everything, and they know the drill. And it's been fun. It's cool to see it succeed, and we're really doing our best. And it's cool because this stuff, it works. It's it just absolutely flat out works, and we're making the best possible baits we can make. And just like the hard baits, like we've done forever.
Yeah. I got to give a shout out here to my stepdaughter, Brooke Hevelin. Hi, beautiful. Thanks for joining me tonight. Wow, you're actually in a computer watching your stepdad. That's pretty cool. All right. So she anyway, we had to give a shout out to her. Hey, and just talking with those guys, and probably of all the guys, I probably know Ott the best, just because we've got to work together. We did a seminar together a couple years ago at Bass Pro. I've had him on the show. We always talk all the time, and both him and we've talked all the time at shows when we run into each other anyway. And what I really admire about both those guys, and Cody Huff's another one. Cody's a really nice guy too, and I've met him at some events too. And we're going to get into that jig and shadow wrap in a little bit, but just to have these guys have this much knowledge and literally, honestly, be really, really nice guys. It had to be a pleasure for you to work. When you look at the plastic side, working with Jacob, and that expanding and blowing up. The crankbaits with, I will say, I don't have a good one here, but the OG or Rocco that I came out with last year, my favorite square bill probably of all time for largemouth. And just working with him and getting that knowledge of that, and then working with Jacob on plastics, it's had to really bring some cool things to light for you too. I'm like, yeah, we can do that, and we can work together with these guys, because the main deal is to bring out a lure that is excellent for the public, not just for tournament anglers, but only 1% of anglers are tournament wranglers. The rest are the public, and everybody is excited about things, and I'm sure you're seeing that as well.
No, absolutely. Yep. They are, for sure. Yeah, you make the baits, with alongside these guys, because they have the knowledge base. They fish all over the country. They know what the fish like, the right colors, the action. And then that trickles down to us, that we get to go fishing and enjoy and have the right baits and the right colors and the right actions. And those guys get to go out and give us that intel and to make the baits the way they are. And especially with a guy like Ott. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that knows crankbaits. Holy smokes. I mean, it's incredible what's going on in his head. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. He's obviously he's the, salt of the earth, the most stand-up guy you'll ever meet, but his knowledge and like understanding and ability to relay that information back to me and our team is just, he is second to none. He's a savant.
Yeah, it was funny when him and I did a seminar together down at the Bass Pro Shop's 50th anniversary a year and a half ago, or whenever the heck it was. Time goes by so fast anymore. We're in the crowd. There's a ton of people in the crowd, and they got TV cameras and everything. And we didn't find out till the last minute we were doing something together. I'm like, okay, this ain't intimidating. I mean, I've done probably thousands of seminars now over the years, and I'm like, but I've never done one with a Bassmasters Classic champion. And he goes, are you ready for this? And I'm like, well, yeah, sure. Like, it's not. I go, let's just go have some fun. And we're talking, and he's making these awesome casts with these crankbaits and these rings, and we're talking about stuff, and people are asking us questions. And he goes, well, Jim, what do you think about that? And so I answered the question, and he goes, well, I agree with Jim. I go, stop. Can we have that in writing, please, somewhere? Just because everybody in the crowd started laughing and everything. I go, because I love exactly what you said. It's almost like a savant, but he is so good in his detailed instruction about how he does it and why he does it, and to be on that end of developing baits like that. And I know a lot of people don't get that opportunity. You and I have both done that, where we've done baits and get feedback from people, and it's quite an interesting process. And I bet you can attest to it. It takes longer than most people think if you're going to do it the right way, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. It can be a very drawn out process. I mean, depending on intricacies of the bait and different dynamics, but sometimes it's short and sweet if you have a real clear direction, but sometimes oftentimes there are variables you didn't foresee, and you want to, the bait's got to be perfect before we're going to release it and put it in a box and put the Rapala name on it. So that's, there's definitely a lot of factors and a lot of, field testing and prototyping and this whole process that goes on. But it's fun, it's fun, and it's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, you make a cool bait that catches fish and people have fun with and helps them catch fish. And that's a very rewarding thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it makes, you think about it, when people work a 40-hour week and they may only have 6 or 7 hours to go on Sunday, and your baits are on the deck and your baits are the ones catching fish. That's a pretty cool deal, because it actually makes people forget about whether they had a good or bad week. They're concentrating on that bait. And that's why it's always so easy to talk to people about Rapala, because everybody's always happy about it. And it's because they catch fish. And going on that note, one of the baits I want to talk about in the Crush City thing, which we were talking about, was that freeloader bait. And it probably looks the plainest, besides maybe the BLT in the package. But what a deadly bait that is. Not only is a trailer on the back of a bladed jig or a scrounger head or a spinner bait. Why don't you tell them a little bit about what you guys have been playing around with and how this has really changed some things that I remember you telling me. You go, I can go out in the middle of the lake with this technique and maybe catch 25 pounds. And I know forward-facing sonar has something to do with it, but that little bait has a lot more to do than just be a trailer, doesn't it?
It totally does. Yeah, that's the cool. It's probably the most versatile bait as far as where it is truly like the best thing you can put on a bladed jig on a spinner bait in most situations, not all. Sometimes you want more loft and things like that. But overall, generally speaking, it maximizes the action on the chatterbait or spinner bait. It's nice and subtle. But then the other dynamic of that bait and what we made it for, working with Jake, which is cool. And it was a little bit more behind the scenes, and we weren't sure what we were going to do with it initially, but he went ahead and won the tournament and kind of spilled the beans. And so,
darn it,
fine. I mean, but and he's learned a lot from a lot of other anglers that he fishes against and learns from, but he's capitalized on all that. He's a great listener, so he's taking it all in. And we made that bait. It's got flat sides and where the salt is in the bait, and then rigged on a jig head, typically a 3/16, a lighter head than a lot of times you think. And you can individually target fish that are suspended. It's an incredible technique for that, but also just fishing through schools of fish or fishing through areas of where the fish are and just casting it out and shaking it through the fish. It's unbelievable. I will say we're just barely scratching the surface, and I think next year we'll see a lot of big tournaments won with, the shake and bake type technique, whether you're specifically targeting a fish. But I went and fished the other day with Seth Fighter. I didn't have live scope, and we caught all kinds of nice, great big smallmouth, just doing the exact same thing without, just shaking it on the bottom, just drag, it's just coming along. It's pretty wild, like, to see what this is going to become. We're on the front side of it, and it's the right bait for it, though. That's the cool part, is we put in our time, we fished, we've tried everything. We've looked at all the different variables, and having the flat sides and the salt in that bait where it is. It's cool. It works obviously super well as a trailer, but this individual technique on a jig head it's going to be something. It's going to be a really, really big deal in the next few years. So it'll be fun to see.
I've done a little bit of that where you put it on about the heaviest you want to do it is on a 3/16. And I've done it on an 8 too, and just threw it out on the edge of weed lines. I did that this summer on baits like that with that, because I've heard it called switching. I've heard it called shake and bake, whatever they call it. And a lot of times as that bait's gliding, it just has such a unique glide. It almost reminds me a little bit of when you pull up a jig and wrap off the bottom. It just comes back down slower, a lot slower, but it has that erratic fall to it. And then when you're shaking it, that little tail's just going crazy off the back, and all of a sudden your rod just loads. It's just, it's just the coolest. Sometimes you get slammed, but a lot of times you go to pick up and the rod just gets heavy and they've already engulfed the thing. Now, I've experienced that with largemouth. I have not done that with smallmouth yet. Is a bite with smallmouth the same, or do they just kill it?
It's about the same. The other day I was fishing, it was 38-degree water, so it was a pretty subtle bite. They were just kind of on there, but just casting it out letting it hit bottom, and then just shaking it, and just shaking with slack in your line, and the bait just it's rocking because of the flat sides and it's just, that's the whole deal, is it's just rocking the whole way back, and it's so natural, so realistic that they can't handle it.
Yeah. And, especially with some of the great colors you guys got in that too, but are there any plans for like maybe bright smallmouth colors going forward? Obviously the ones you already have work, but I mean, there's some, you and I both know, I know we've talked about this before, that bright colors and Rapala baits in cold water, man, can be deadly on muskies, can be deadly on smallmouth, can be deadly on walleyes. And, those cold water, bright, obnoxious colors. I mean, there's two things you will not, and one of them you taught me, but there are two things that I will not go smallmouth fishing. One is the size 10 X-Wrap and hot pink.
Yeah.
I will stay home. I will just not go. I have one box that literally has, and this is true, anybody can look at my boat, that has 15 hot pink X-Wraps. I just will not go smallmouth fishing, especially early and late in the year, without a hot pink X-Wrap. The other one is a VMC 1/16 ounce black hair jig. And you're the one, and I've given you credit for that for the last 10 years. You're the one who showed me how to do that. And I have taken that in more places on more bodies of water when that bite's tough, not only just catching smallmouth, but largemouth and crappies and other things. But when it comes to smallmouth, that there is a time when they get on that bite when that's all they want. And that little hair jig is, I think you said it years ago, it's almost like crack the smallmouth. It can be, right? But that's what I think this little, that's what I think this little freeloader is going to be in some cases. I think the bait is that good, just from my limited experience with it, And I know there's some baits, like a while back, you told me, there's another bait you would never go fishing without, and that is the Jigging Rap. And just because it's so deadly, and the more I've played with it the last couple of years, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, perch, walleyes, northern pike, you've caught big muskies on it. I think you were with Jeremy Smith one time from Angling Edge, and you guys whacked some big muskies on that. The Jigging Rap, and now with the new Jig and Shadow Rap that I think Cody Huff helped you guys with. Talk a little bit about that bait, because it's got some really cool innovations on there, doesn't it?
For sure, yeah. The Jig and Shadow Rap is really cool, because the Jig and Rap itself is, I mean, truly, in my opinion, it's arguably, I would honestly say it's the best fishing lure ever. It catches everything. It's so many scenarios. It's so versatile. It's such a cool lure, and it's so cool that it's 50 years old, and it was designed for ice fishing, and then Al Linder figured out it was like the most amazing open water walleye lure. So that just that whole story behind the Jig and Rap is so cool to me. And then we have I've done the flat jig, which was a real heavy version, which we have the new Jig and Rap, the Magnum, coming, but this was the Jig and Shadow Rap, and it kind of played to the Jig and Rap. It's very erratic, and it falls very fast, right? So the Jig and Shadow Rap has less weight, so that's a number 9 that you have in your hand there,
right?
And it weighs what a 7 does, and it's a bigger body. It has plastic, and it has more of a glide to it. So one of the ads is more hang time, more bang time. It's like it's kind of plays to the colder water, to the shallower water dynamic, where Jig and Rap is, you can catch fish on them, but it's maybe not the ultimate bait to be throwing in that scenario. But now we have one. You can fish a Jig and Rap. It's the Jig and Shadow Rap in shallower water, colder water, with a slower fall, and it has 2 split rings. It's a little, it's built more like a lure now. So it's super durable. The tail fins are built into the bait, but it's a cool bait. It catches fish, and we've got some super cool colors in it.
Oh yeah,
very realistic, natural. It was like a month ago. I was in Green Bay fishing with Adam Rasmussen, catching walleyes on it, and it's a cool tool. It's a complement to the Jig Rap. That's the cool part, as anglers. The more you fish, the more time you spend with the bait, you understand like when it excels and when maybe other baits do. But now we're growing that family because of how effective it is. The Jig and Rap's kind of in the middle. That's like the focal point. But now the Jig and Shadow Rap's over here. It's lighter, shallower water, colder water. And then the brand new one that'll be in stores, I mean, now-ish, any day, is the Jig and Rap Mag. And that one is, we really spent some time with Cody. It's an ounce and an eighth. I mean, it's heavy. It falls fast. You can fish at wintertime bass that are real deep. And then probably the biggest play on that thing is for walleyes. When the Jig and Rap has its super fall fast, that gets a reaction bite. But the Jig and Rap Mag, it falls even faster, and it elicits those reaction bites. It's cool, and it's more in line with the Jig and Shadow Rap as far as the construction of it. It's built like a lure, so it's durable. It has a swivel built in the belly. It's a really cool lure. It's different, but now we really have like the Jig and Rap world is like Jig and Rap in the middle, Jig and Rap Mag, Jig and Rap Shadow Rap. Those 3 baits, we got that glide bait world covered, and it's pretty cool. It's a cool story because there's truly a time and place for all 3. Like, it is just very factual.
It's expanded on the idea that fish will react to a bait. And one of the things that I love about it is I love catching anything that's got fins, but walleyes we're not one of my, because I'm not a guy that's a jig and minnow guy. I'm ADD. I don't do that. When I started throwing the Jig and Rap more, that's a cool thing about it is I can go in 10 feet of water. I can go in 25 foot of water for walleyes, where guys are sitting down there with a jig and minnow, and I'm like, that's nice. I'm going to throw a Jig and Rap out there, and all of a sudden you're just ripping, and those fish are reacting to it. Where that live bait might be sitting down there and they can see it, but that Jig and Rap or any of the family of those baits, they have to commit. And that's one thing I've always said about us as anglers. It's not only our job to find the fish, but to be successful, we have to make them commit. And this has been one of the best lures that I have seen, especially the last couple of years when I fished it more, is to make a fish commit. And I think it's really cool on this new one where you've got a bigger hook in the back. I love the split rings on the front, because sometimes they just get a jig and wrap away, and you almost always had to have a net, just because you want to keep a tight line on this. You've got a bigger hook, you've got another extra split ring, and the reason they're doing that is the fish has a lot less leverage with that extra split ring in there. This is just another cool design. And I've also noticed since you guys came out with the shadow wrap, it could be 15, 16 now. I don't remember exactly when. But going to flatter side baits, I've noticed a lot has been a very successful recipe for Rapala, hasn't it? And ever since that shadow wrap came out, we learned about how just a little bit of movement on those flat side baits can give you maximum flash compared to what we were used to. And minimal movement still gives you some really cool action. And is that one of the things you guys consider now going forward in debates is, hey, maybe we should do this one with flat sides, because you've obviously seen it works.
100%. Yeah, there's no doubt. Flat sides have their time and place where that's what you want. Your bait's just not going to have the action that you need. You're going to get more bites on a flat-sided bait. And obviously cold water cranking with some of Ott's baits, the slim and the tiny, have flat sides. Traditionally, the cold water cranking stuff. But yeah, the freeloader in the Crush City lineup, that bait has flat sides, and it helps it, rock. And
I'm gonna talk about this bait real quick. Then we're going to go to break, and then I want to come back and talk to Dan about my favorite new lure of this year. But one of the favorites, I just started throwing OG Tiny in the 7-foot diver, and this one's scarred up pretty good after last week. I always have a joke. And Kirk, my camera guy, we always have a joke. He's like, he's breaking out a new Rapala, which means it'll be under 5 casts. And usually on a new Rapala bait, I've had him 1. I've had them 2 cast. This one took 3. But when they started hitting it, this has got some incredible action. And one of my favorite things of all time is small baits that go deeper, because everything big hits something small. And that OG Tiny series I love it, but I think I'm going to like the 7 even more. And I'm sure you guys had a slot for that when you started doing it. But this in cold water or in clear water is a flat out. I'm telling you folks right now, when they're in stores, if they're not in there now, you got to add this to your tackle box. This flat out catches them. What have you guys seen? I'm sure you saw that in the testing, but you kind of had to be excited about the 7.
I was super, super excited. Like, the original Tiny was a shallower diver, and we caught him. I mean, it's a joke fishing with Ott. We were kind of teasing each other, calling it the Hoover and the jug of Lysol, this and that. Like, it just cleans them up. I mean, it just catches fish. It gets bit. Like, arguably, personally, I've never seen a crankbait quite like that, where it just, normally you catch fish, you catch the active ones, and you move on, and you can slow down, but you can keep catching them on that bait. And then to have that 7-footer, it was a natural extension for Tiny. And yeah, that bait, as you're seeing, it flat out catches them. There is just no questions asked. Just go fishing with it and you'll see. I mean, it's pretty cool to know, like, that bait is right. Like, when working with Ott with a balsa bait and a circuit board chip lip, I mean, that's what he does. That he is East Tennessee, and that bait catches fish everywhere. Obviously in cold water it excels, but it's not only cold water, it's pressured water. That's kind of the cool thing that we're seeing in flat-sided baits. They're more subtle. They're not as aggressive. And when the fish are really feeding, you want aggressive baits, and there's a time and place. But there's often a time and place for a more subtle flat-sided bait at times when you don't think about it. And that's kind of the cool thing, is there's more and more pressure on everybody's body of water. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you tone it down, and a flat-sided crankbait is super overlooked in warm water, but it works.
Well, about a week or so ago, we were getting out, and I was with one of the young guns around here, really good kid, big Rapala fan anyway, and he was throwing a spinnerbait up in front of me, and so I was throwing the 7 behind him, and I had 2 or 3 behind him. Yeah, they weren't big fish, but he goes, "What are you throwing?" And I go, "I got to do something back here." I mean, he's vacuuming the front of the boat like that. So I'm like, I'm going to tie on Tiny. I got a little bit deeper. And the cool thing about it, you can always tell a great bait on a crankbait. Just for all you listening right now, to me, a great bait on a crankbait is when the rod just loads. because when a rod loads, that means they came up, sucked it in, and turned with it. And everyone was crossways. You can tell when fish are just striking at a bait because you'll get a hard strike and they may just come in on one hook, the front or the back. When your rod loads, to me, that's a perfect crankbait bite because they've got the entire thing in most cases. And this one, they were eating, they had it all the way inside. They thought that was a real deal. And the circuit board lip, to me, is a lot more responsive. One of my favorites, going to be hard to see because I got a green screen here. But the OG, the Rapala right here, one of my favorites because that square bill, and I apologize for it's hard to see, but the way that lip is designed actually will pick baits up and over cover as it deflects. So it protects that front hook. And it was my favorite crankbait of all last year because you can throw it in a beaver pile, and I'm not kidding. Just Rapala is a flat out slugfest when it comes to catching fish. And that circuit board lip, the other stuff is fine, but those circuit board lips are durable. I think they react really good. They give a different reaction to the bait. Is that why you guys went with that? Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. Yeah. It gives the bait a unique action. It's sensitive. It's thin. It cuts through the water, and it gives the bait a unique action. It's separate from an ABS bill, typical of a lot of the other crankbaits. And at the end of the day, that's what Ott made in his garage. Like this whole OG, it's, Ott's garage. It truly is. Like I sat in his garage and he made baits with it was another one of those really cool processes that I'm, very fortunate to be a part of and got to work with Ott on. But this is how he made the baits in his garage. It truly is. And they work, they just flat out catch fish. You make a crankbait with Ott Defoe, you're in good hands.
If you're not catching fish on it, it probably ain't the bait. Just saying. Just saying.
Probably try a new spot.
Yeah, right. So hey, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the new Maverick 110, which is my new favorite jerkbait. Maybe not my all-time yet. Still got some numbers to catch up, but it is. We're gonna, and I'm going to show you some video footage proof of why. Stay tuned for that. And then after we get done talking to Dan, I'm just telling y'all now, make sure you stay to the end of the show because we're going to do a giveaway after that. But right now, we're going to take a little bit of a break here. We'll be back with Dan Quinn and talk more about Rapala and their phenomenal increase and more productive baits adding to the market very soon. We'll be back right after this.
Located in Springfield, Illinois' largest selection of sports and sportswear, hunting, fishing, specialty shops and services, a 65-foot Ferris wheel, 16,000-gallon saltwater aquarium, and industry-leading knowledgeable employees. You don't take chances at Shields, ever. Go to shields.com.
At Lure Parts Online, we have everything you need to make your own lures, pour soft plastics, tie your own flies, build your own rods, and more. Easy ordering ensures you get your products quickly. You can build it all with Lure Parts Online.
Achieving affordable innovation through novel concepts and in-house ingenious designs. Cascade cost-effective e-commerce practices directly market to consumers, cutting costs by 30% or more on average. Affordable innovation, superior quality. CastKing.com.
Mudhole is your #1 resource for custom fishing rods. Mudhole is the world's largest supplier of rod building, tackle crafting supplies, and instruction. They have the best components and brands you trust. MHX, CRB, Fuji, Lamiglass, Sage, American Tackle, Pacific Bay, and more. It's easy to build your next custom fishing rod at mudhole.com.
Believing quality is measured by lifespan and harnessing their unique chemistry and engineering know-how. Dakota Lithium lasts 4 times longer, powering your passion with an 11-year warranty. Find out more at dakotalithium.com.
There we go. Come here. Get in here. Yeah. Nice fish right there. Hi, I'm Jim Crowley. Make sure you catch my show, Jim Crowley Outdoors, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Wired to Fish TV.
Look for Jim Crowley Outdoors on Wired to Fish TV on free ad-supported streaming TV, including Plex, that can be downloaded in the App Store at Apple TV, Roku, Samsung, and others.
Yeah, we are back with Dan Quinn from Rapala. And Dan, there's so many things that you guys, it had to almost be like a sleepless night for you. I know every year there's new products coming out, but this year you're like, we have this, we have this. We haven't even touched on stuff that's your VMC or anything else. And there's some great stuff. I mean, VMC won an award for a new jig head over at ICAST, which was great to see Cyril and Ben and talk with them. We had a blast over there, a breakfast with those guys. They were so excited. And, you know, and doing that, another great innovation from VMC, which still, in my opinion, are the best hooks on the planet. And you guys even up that again with VMC with the Redline series of hooks. And I said this in a couple episodes this year, and I hope you weren't upset about it, but I said it should come with a buyer beware on the package. If you look at those things the wrong way, you are getting, I am not kidding you. Ott and I were teasing one another at ICAST, and I said, Ott, it took me 2 casts to catch a fish on. He goes, well, I got you beat. I caught it on 1. I go, my first cast was ruined because it was stuck in my finger, stuck to my sleeve, and then I stuck myself to the boat carpeting. So I go, I shouldn't even count that. These things are brutal. But I'm going to tell people a little bit about it, and then I want to pick more of your brain about how you came to it. The big thing, and I know you can't really see them real good right here, but this is on a Maverick 110. But the points are forged now, so they won't roll over. Nowhere near as much as a standard point. They're going to stay sharper and longer. And with the coating they put on them, I'm not kidding, folks. If I think I forget who said it, which one of the Pro Staff guys said it. But he said, you know, if you're not fishing redline hooks, you better hope your competition's not. I have literally had fish, and we did it on a show in La Crosse this year. They missed the jerk bait, and 2 to 3 hooks hooked them alongside. If a fish gets close to this, and now I've caught largemouth, smallmouth, walleyes, I think pike on this thing already. Every one of them, if it has 1 hook in it, it ain't coming out. What was the process of those red lines?
The process was just to truly make the best hook we could possibly make. We needed to make it sharp and strong and slick. And I mean, that's what we did. Yeah. Every one of the redline hooks is a needle point. So it's the best, it's the sharpest, it's the strongest. The durability of that point is, honestly, I don't understand it. It's far exceeded our expectations as we were field testing and going through the process. Working with Ott and Jake and all of our pros, it exceeded our expectations by so far that it's like, what is going on? We'd go back to the guys at the factory and the engineers, like, what? They dialed it in. I mean, they truly did. They put their best foot forward, and every point is a needle point. Every hook has a PTFE coating, which, you know, to put it simply, is like a Teflon type coating to make it slick. It penetrates easily. We maximize the barb on every hook, so it's not too much where it's going to jeopardize the point breaking, but it's as much as we could get to keep the fish buttoned. And yeah, the strength. I mean, even those number 5 trebles on the Maverick, they're really, really strong, but they're really, really thin. You know, you want a nice thin hook on a jerk bait. If they come and slap at the bait, or they barely nip at it, and then the bait comes around and whacks them on the head, they have to penetrate that fish, the fish's skin, you know, on the head. That's just a common thing that we knew we needed, and our pro staff needed when you're fishing in the Bassmaster Classic and you get a bite. You don't want any questions asked, and we definitely don't want to introduce a bait that people need to put new hooks on. So we said, we're going to make the best jerkbait we can with the best hooks we can. And that's what we did. So it's been really fun. We're really, you know, we've had baits that catch fish forever. And that's been, you know, and now it's been, what else can we do? What are some fun ideas we can do to help people catch more fish? Let's make some really good baits with some really good hooks and just totally like max everything out. And that's what we've been doing. And it's been fun because we have the pro staff and the resources to do that. And that's pretty cool to have, you know, the team of guys we do to leverage all that knowledge that they have. How do we do this? How do we do that? What do we need to do here? What do we need to make these baits then everybody can use? You know, it's kind of cool. It's really, really cool. And as you've seen, the Maverick it's a complement to our other baits. You know, we've got a lot. Rapala's a lot of good jerk baits, obviously, with the original floater starting the whole thing off. And now, if Lori Rapala was alive today, I mean, how, you know, to see where that company and that bait that he made is today. It's pretty cool.
It's insane. I remember the X-Rap talking back when Mark Fisher was working with you guys, and always had a great relationship with fish. He taught me more about fishing a jerkbait years ago than I ever knew. It made me a better jerkbait fisherman. Sitting down, talking to him in his office, talking to him at ICAST. It was, and when that X-Rap came out in 2009, if I'm not mistaken, in 2009, it caught me my biggest largemouth on camera still to date was a 7.4. 2 years ago, I caught the biggest smallmouth on camera around 6 pounds, was on an X-Rap size 10 again. And that one was hot pink. Now, the cool thing about the X-Rap, for you people don't know, Dan, I'm going to give them a little bit of a history lesson, just a little bit. The X-Rap is one of the, in my opinion, the best suspending bait that there is. The feather on the back of that, people have heard me say 1,000 times. It makes it deadly in cold water. It just does. I don't know why. I can't explain it. After all these years, I don't care. I just know that it flat out works. The Shadow Rap, when it came out, was a cool bait because when you throw slack back to it, the bait would literally turn, get it this way, turn 180 and look back at the fish that's following it. And I remember people saying at first, well, that can't happen. Well, yeah, the first couple times I tried it and watched the bait in the water and threw slack back to it, it did. Now you've got the Maverick with flatter sides, just like the Shadow Rap. You've got a bait that will turn 180 and it also suspends. I'm going to show you a quick video clip right here. For those of you that doubt a bait can turn 180, check out this clip that we filmed this late summer in La Crosse.
We were telling you when we explained this bait, one of the cool things about the Mavic 110 is that when you throw slack back to it, it'll turn 180. That right there is proof.
And that's exactly it. I've had largemouth, I've had smallmouth, I've had northern pike, and I've had walleyes inhale that bait head first with 4 inches of line in their mouth. You know how they did that? They hit it head first when the thing turned back around. Period. End of story. That was video proof right there. And I've had that happen a bunch. This bait is one of the easiest baits I've also noticed to work because it slashes with less effort, in my opinion. Dan, did you guys see that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was a cool project. It started almost making, the X-Rap is the X-Rap, the Shadow Rap's the Shadow Rap.
Great
the Shadow Rap slowly sinks, the X-Rap suspends, and what do we need? And clearly in the largemouth world, we wanted a truly suspending bait at roughly 60 degrees with the premium hooks. And then the action. What's the action that we want? Well, it's almost a hybrid of the two, the X-Rap and the Shadow Rap. And as far as, it's got a lot of good action. It's consistent, but it's not too consistent. We want it to flare up every now and then. That's what triggers bites. But yeah, when you're snap, and then it has slack, it turns. And as Jacob Wheeler said, and in the product video, as we were filming it, it was really cool to witness him saying it. But how he catches 90% of his fish is, snap, and then when you snap it hard, and then the bait turns, and that is like that. He calls it the bear trap, and that's it. Like that's when they bite it because it's turning. It's just like a big glide bait. When you snap it, you want that bait to be able to snap and turn and look the fish in the, and they just it triggers them to bite. It's cool. Yeah, that was a fun bait. It's really one of those baits. It's really, really good. It's a really good jerk bait. It casts really far.
Yep.
It has the right action. It's easy to fish. There's nothing, you can't fish it wrong, No,
you've got a weight transfer system in this thing here. And the cool thing about it, he's exactly right. Obviously, he's exactly right on that. You can't fish the bait wrong. The cool thing is when it suspends, a lot of times it will suspend head down like this. And it has that jerking motion like that. And the bear trap that he was referring to, for those of you guys who fish a jerk bait, I've always said there's two baits that intimidate anglers the most: jerk baits and heavy cover jigs. And with jerk baits, you always ask people, how many you got jerk baits? They all raise their hand. How many of that's where they stay in their tackle box? Everybody raises their hand again. The best bait for me in clear, cold water, or even clear water, whether it be freshwater or saltwater, if you need to generate a strike, a jerk bait is going to be one of your best choices in a lot of cases just to generate a strike. And how you get that bait to turn 180, for those of you that don't know, is you do your regular jerk, pause. Instead of doing that pause, how I do it is jerk, throw the rod tip back. Jerk, throw the rod tip back. When you throw the rod tip back, you throw slack back to the bait. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a bear trap Jacob is talking about, isn't he?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. When you're snapping, you want that line to be slapping the water to slap. So it really maximizes the action. And yeah, it works. It's a great bait. And it's pretty cool to grab it out of the package. You tie it on with your fishing the Bassmaster Classic, or you're going out, on a
Just
Saturday afternoon. It doesn't matter. It's a good bait, and it does what it's supposed to do. It catches fish from the colors. Like, that's a culmination of all the best minds in bass fishing, putting, spilling everything into a pot. What colors? Here you go. Like, these are colors that cover you from north, south, east, west. The action, it's all there. It's cool. We put a lot into that bait. We really did.
Yeah, well, if you could feel this one right here, anybody looking, I know you can't, but if you can feel this thing feels like a truck ran over it. This has been a fun bait for me on a couple of. Now, are they going to be, and they're not quite in stores yet, or some places have them, or they're going to be there pretty quick?
Yeah, they're shipping right now.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah, they're shipping right now. I think next week, you'll start really seeing them. Yeah.
And for those of you guys in Illinois, the Shields store in Illinois is obviously going to have a full supply of these, as every Shields is going to. Their Fish Fest in March, we've already talked about it at Shields. I'm actually going to be giving a jerkbait seminar there specifically on my experiences with the Maverick 110, everything from rod and reel setup to line to exactly how we work the bait, just to give you all more of an idea how anybody, and I mean anybody, can take this lure out and catch a lot of fish. I honestly believe this is one of the most effective jerkbaits, and I love them all. I was a fan of the Ripstop, obviously big fan of the X-Wrap, huge fan of the Shadow Wrap, like the Shadow Wrap Deep for late fall smallmouth. Love that. This one was just flat out fun because largemouth that I've caught have hit this thing so hard they literally knock slack in the line. You could actually feel the line jump when they hit it. There was no doubt they thought this was the real thing. It is truly, probably going to see it on another episode this year, maybe 2, depending on where we're going. It's just because there are certain times when you need a jerkbait to trigger those strikes, and there's no doubt that this Maverick 110 has done it for me. And like I always said, there's no doubt it's going to do it for you. It's a great, great bait. Dan, can you let us know a couple more things that might be coming? Or, I mean, we've went over a bunch of stuff tonight, but is there some stuff that's going to be released that you can talk about now, or you just want to keep people in anticipation?
Yeah, and I mean, with that Maverick too, you can't forget like the cool thing that's happening in electronics is forward-facing sonar, sure. Right? Like, you can see the fish. One of the ultimate tools is a jerkbait. I mean, that's how what kicked it all off, and guys are understanding. We're going to watch the Bassmaster elites go to Lake Fork and watch Patrick Walters probably win the tournament on a Maverick. I mean, he won the last. It's such a cool tool for that, which plays to the most advanced technology going on right now, down to just throwing it off a dock. I mean, you can do no wrong with the jerkbait and the Maverick. So that's really fun part about that bait is from top to bottom, it's just a great bait, and you just got to go fish it. And like you said, it can be intimidating. Guys aren't, what's the cadence? What do I do? Spinning rod bait caster, fluoro mono braid. It does, just go out and fish with it. You just can, you can really, the bait does a lot of the work for you. You just, you mess with it and play with it, and it's fun. You can look at it and watch it, and it's like, oh, look at that. It's cool. So,
yeah, and I've always said, I never believe in magic baits. I don't believe they exist, but I believe with a little knowledge. And if you don't know, ask. There's plenty of videos out there that Rapala and that Normark puts out there to explain these baits. When you see some of these guys, it shows every guy that Dan has mentioned. It's very accessible to talk to the public. One of the great things about a lot of the Rapala guys is you can come up and talk to them. Anybody can. Pick their brain. I mean, that is probably one of the requirements. You better be accessible to the public. And all these guys are really, really good at that. They're actually, every one of them I met are super freaking nice guys. They're a lot of fun. And they just happen to have a brain that is wired around fishing extremely well. And I'll be honest with you, that's why Rapala has them. So, but it's great. It's a lot of fun. Dan, coming up, I'm going to ask a dumb question, but in case somebody's living under a rock, where can they find out more social media about Rapala?
We're on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and we're growing in those spaces all the time. We actually just hired a new guy that's really going to help us make all that information accessible, but obviously through all your channels, Jim, and then Wired to Fish, Bassmaster, Jacob Wheeler, all of our pros have their own channels too, and they've become their own platforms to get information and knowledge. And it's incredible. It's kind of cool to see where, the fishing world has been, because 20 years ago, pro bass fishermen to fish bass tournaments, and then they do write some articles with some writers, and that was what it was. But now, gosh, these guys have their own YouTube channels, and they had a day off. Well, their day off is working now. So and they're so there's endless amounts of information through all, from Rapala's website to social media to your social media to all the everyone's there's information overload almost, which is cool. Like, the learning curve to get into fishing now is a fraction of what it used to be, which is awesome. It's cool.
You are living proof that there are no days off, my friend. There are just it's a constant. We're constantly doing something, trying to get out the word more and be accessible to people. I mean, that's our job as communicators, is to be able to let people know our experience with stuff. I've never said I'm the best at anything I do, but I can always tell you my experiences, and all the Rapala guys are like that. And a lot of the pro staff guys I meet are like that. They're there to share their information and hopefully have other people become more. I've always said I would like to leave it better, where people take it farther than I've ever took it and do more with it. But you always got to start somewhere. If you're not sure about a product, a lot of stuff Dan and I are talking about, everything we've talked about tonight catches fish. It catches fish. But the thing that makes it catch fish is the angler. If you're not sure, whether you're in high school, whether you're in college, or whether you're an adult, a full guard, ask a question. I don't know anybody in the fishing industry out there that is not willing to help you. I'm fortunate enough and blessed enough to know a lot of great people that are willing to help. If you're not sure, ask. And if you ask me and I don't know, heck, I'll call Dan and ask him if I got to get the answer from him. He'll answer the question for me. At Rapala, we want you to know. We want you to catch more fish. As Dan said, he smiled when he said it's satisfactory. Darn right it is. It's extremely satisfactory when people catch more fish on baits that we made. So, Dan, listen, my friend, as crazy as life has been for you, I sincerely appreciate you being on. We've known each other a long time. I'm proud to have been with Rapala for a very, very long time. It's one of the funnest things that I get to do. I love when that box comes, when I know it's from you, because I know there's some new stuff in there. I like it. I almost rip it out of the UPS guy's hand when I know it's coming, buddy. I'm just telling you. It's always fun to see some of the new stuff and play around with and get to pass on this information. So I appreciate you being here. And as always, God bless you, your family. Please tell your dad that I said hi when you talk to him next. And longtime friend of mine, and love the guy to death. He's been great to me over the years. But God bless you. Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas, my friend. And I appreciate your time.
Well, thanks so much, Jim. I really appreciate being on. It's been a blast. It's always a blast. It's great to work with you day in and day out. And we're excited for the future. As much as this stuff is awesome, we got some really cool stuff in the hopper. So life is good. Things are fun. And
no doubt in my mind, buddy. No doubt in my mind. I'm looking forward to it. Take care of yourself, my friend. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. I've been with Rapala for 16 years, and I'll tell you what, it's been so much fun working with Dan and being able to see things coming about. And as I promised all of you, we're going to do a little giveaway tonight. I got some more people clicking on. I hope you all enjoyed that tonight. Again, once I love this show with Dan, of course, love Rapala. Thank you. Lisa, great show. I learned a lot tonight. Lee, I hope you're not leaving yet. We're going to do something. I'm going to show you guys a new product. AJ Gore came on. AJ, if you're still here, hi, how you doing, AJ? Our buddy from Cast King over there. Always great to see you there. So we're going to do this. Those of you that are online right now, brand new product to show you from Lure Parts. This is called Crunch Powder. Okay, so you've seen our crunch sauce that I've talked about in liquid form, and now crunch powder. So what can you do with that? You can actually pour this in a bag of plastics, and it will adhere to the plastics. So you can carry this in your boat. It's not going to spill in case a liquid bottle cracks or something. That's not going to happen with powder. The thing is, a new crunch powder embeds in your plastics. When you shake it in the bag, it's going to turn white. As soon as you drop it in the water, the white disappears and the stuff sticks to your plastic. You can scent anything, any plastic now with crunch powder, and the powder will automatically stick to your plastics and embed that productive crunch scent that we came out with last year. That's been a lot of you have told me how great this is. Do me a favor. Go to Lure Parts Online right now. Go to Lure Parts Online right now. Go in the new product section. tell me one new product that you see that we're coming out with for this Good Friday. I'll wait here while you guys do that. But all you got to do with that crunch powder. So the first person comes on and tells me one new product that we're coming out with this week. It'll say new stuff on lurepartsonline.com. It'll say new stuff. Click on that. Find me a new product. First one to answer, I'm going to send you a bottle of the brand new crunch powder. This is just coming out. I got my first bottle. This is just on the website now. So go tell me a new product. You do that, I will send you a brand new bottle. Let's see. Gone catfishing. What does he say here? He said, I used to fish around your gym, kind of miss it. Now I'm in North Carolina. Well, gone catfishing. I'll tell you what, I'd love to fish in North Carolina. You guys got fresh water and salt water. So I bet you got some, matter of fact, I'm sure you got, plus you got a beautiful, beautiful state there as well. Any of you. So right now, and if you do this after the show, I'll check the show after, but somebody go to Lure Parts Online right now. Tell me what one of the new products is. And if I see your name on here, I will pick it even after the show, and I will tell you, and I will make sure that Lure Parts sends you a brand new bottle of crunch powder. All right. So I want to make sure we thank our sponsors, Shields. Like I said, Shields is full of Rapala. Make sure you go to Shields right now because they are loaded up, and they've got all the new Crush City stuff, and they've got all the other Rapala lures that we talked about as well. Lure Parts Online, like I said, make sure our friends at Lure Parts, we have a lot of new products coming out that I helped work on over the last year and a half or 2 years. Some of that stuff is going to be coming out now. You'll see a Black Friday video and Cyber Monday videos coming out tomorrow. You can check my page for that because we're going to give you a big discount code for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Our friends from Cast King, they have a lot of sales going on right now too, and they've got Black Friday specials coming up as well. Mudhull does as well, and of course our friends at Dakota Lithium. I have got some discount codes for all of you while we're thinking about this here. So let's bring these on right here. Okay, our friends at Cast King, you want to get anything 20% off at Cast King? Put this code in, JC52AFF. That is a code you use for Cast King to get 20% off. Dakota Lithium, our friends, if you're thinking about lithium batteries, now is a great time. 10% off. That's a lot off a lithium battery. Put in the code SlickFish10. You'll get 10% off at dakotalithium.com. Our friends over at Lure Parts Online, for this month, you can use this code JC Outdoors 10G. You can use that. Plus, I'll be giving out another discount code tomorrow for Black Friday and for Cyber Monday. So make sure when you comment, I'm going to send some of you, or I'm going to send one of you a free crunch powder on there. So make sure you comment. Go to Lure Parts Online. Aha, Lee Kerr. I knew somebody would come through. Soft plastic floats. Yep, those are brand newly. That's in a new product section. Lee, I'm going to get your address afterwards, and I will have Lure Parts send you a brand new bottle of crunch powder that you can add in any plastics, and it will put that crunch scent that will stay and embed in any plastic that you want. Check out also our crunch sauce, which comes in 6 different flavors now. Not giving you any hints, but my favorite is the juice, but they make a lot of good ones. They also make a coffee scent, but this new powder, it's amazing. Once you put it on, shake it up in that bag and throw that plastic, you will be amazed at how long you smell that stuff. It automatically embeds in that plastic. Coming out with more stuff cool from Lure Parts Online coming soon. So with all of that, I want to wish, also want to tell you guys something. Some of you mentioned the last time that I gave a Bible verse out on the last show, and you like that. So I want you to check out this one. Check out Proverbs 92:1. Check out Proverbs 92:1. Okay. With all of that, and if you don't know what it is, good. Look it up. Look it up. Proverbs 92:1. Okay. And I always say Proverbs 3:5-6 is another one. Make sure you check that one out as well. Wishing all of you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great time with you and your family. You always have something to be thankful for. One of the things I'm thankful for is all of you. You will see Slick Fish Radio come on Wire to Fish TV in 2024. We are growing, and as I always tell you, we are growing because of all of you. More comments up here. Thank you, everybody, for all your comments on here. I really do appreciate all of that. So, as again, I'll tell you, I wish all of you and your families a very happy Thanksgiving. God bless you. We'll see you soon.